Well, good evening, race fans. Welcome to Two to Go with Reckham and Dad Bob. How you doing tonight, Wes?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Not bad. Racing season is back. Guys are running at Daytona today at the Clash and qualifying. We have Chase Elliott and Earnhardt on the front row there for the 500. Did you catch any of that today, Wes?
Yeah, got a little bit of it. Should be a good 500.
Hope so. Looked like that bottom line was the place to be, but I'm sure those guys will keep working on the cars between now and next Sunday when the Great American Race rolls off. Over at Loose Lugnuts, we still have our series going on. Trucks on Thursday night and Pump and Run series on Friday night with the late model car. Gotta say congrats to you, Wes, taking home the championship in that last Pump and Run series with the super late model. Pretty challenging deal there at the end, though. Wasn't easy, was it?
Nah, man, not by any feat. I mean, all those series we ran were pretty close championship finishes, and it was there were some good and fast competitors that I had to battle it out with, and yeah, it came down to a tight race there at the end, and like you said, it sure wasn't easy, but somehow pulled it off.
Yes, 1 point over Jason Covington. It was that lap that you had led in that event that made the big difference. He had trouble during the race, and for a while there, it looked like Jason was going to steal it. In fact, at the end of the race, I thought Jason was the champion until he plugged all the points into Dan Lisa. Didn't really know who had it. A couple of the recent races, the new season opened up at Bristol with the late model car. A lot of good racing. I don't know if you watch much of the replay or the broadcast on at least Lugnuts TV that West.
Yeah, I didn't get to see too many highlights of it. Unfortunately, my schedule this season's just it's kind of rough on Friday nights, so I've chosen to pull away from the Friday night deal and just run the trucks on Thursday. But I heard it was a decent race for what it was. I mean, Bristol with late model cars, but I'm looking forward to watching some of these loose lug nut replays of the race with our new broadcast we got going on, and see who prevails this season with me stepping away from that.
And James Lehman, he had got the win at Bristol and backed it right up at Lucas Oil Raceway Park this week with a real solid run. Unfortunately, his race totally fell apart at the end. He had a little contact with Mark Jackson in the late stages of the race, putting him at the end of the lead lap cars, and things just didn't work out for him. He tried to get back through the field and was involved in another incident. Definitely ruffled some feathers there with Jason. Wasn't very happy with him, and I think that showed on track. I don't know if you saw that piece at all, Wes, but let's just say Jason felt like he was done wrong and showed him he wasn't happy.
Hey man, that sounds like short track racing with late model cars. I mean, even with the super lates, tempers, they get up there and they start to flare with running them small tracks, and especially with tracks that are one line tracks, or those cars are really competitive. That's all it is. It's just everybody's on top of each other, and it starts hurting feelings, and guys feel like they've been done wrong, like you said, and it makes for some good racing, but you don't make very many friends when it goes down like that.
Exactly not. I know I've been there. I think you can ask the Georgia Flash. We've had some run-ins. Heavener and I had a few run-ins. It's just close quarters racing. It's fixed setup racing, so everybody's got essentially, the same thing on track. It's all in what you do, behind the wheel, and gets real intense. Michael Jeans scored the win at Lucas Oil, and it was a big night for Southeast Motorsports, stealing the whole podium. It was pretty wild. You have a lot of talented drivers. Those guys are real good racers, clean racers for the most part, and that was good to see. Taking a look at the current standings on that series, Mitchell Reeves and Michael Jeans are in the top two with Magic Shoes Mark Jackson in third. Mark's been a fun guy to race with. I think you've raced with him some recently, Wes. Always a
Yeah,
fun time.
he's a good dude, man. That's what's so unique about this league is we got a bunch of guys that are diverse. They're from other places around the sim racing world, and we get these random guys that come in here and want to run with us, and he's one of them, man. He's showed up, and he's definitely raced everybody well and clean, and I would try to say to the best of his ability, and he's turned out to be a really good competitor. And actually, talking about him, our season opener at Daytona in the trucks, I believe he picked up the win in that one too.
He sure did. Just to round out the top five in the bump and run late model points, we have James Lehman with one win and dropping to fourth this week, and Brian Bizel. He 2 weeks in a row
Bizarre.
he's earned the bonus point for gaining the most spots. True good job there on him. We did shake up things with the points. Guys are actually penalized 3 points if they have more than 17 incidents, and they also earn a 3 point bonus if they can pull the race off and have zero incidents. And after two races, only one guy's actually gotten the bonus. But good job by Brian getting the extra point, gaining the most spots. This past week, it was 21st to 6. And that's a hell of a night on a short track with the close quarters racing. But you mentioned trucks, wild opener at Daytona. You were in that mix on the last lap, along with Ted, who's down in the production truck right now. And talk about that last lap at Daytona, because watching the replay of it, that was a hell of a show you guys put on.
Oh man, that track, it's I don't know what it is with these restrictor plate tracks and me, and it doesn't matter what car it is. It's just somehow I find my way to the front at the end, and I mean it all falls apart with two or on the last lap. It doesn't matter, but yeah, it was a crazy finish coming out of Ford there. We had that outside push and came out of four, and it was just bumping and banging after that, and I just got too much of a shot to the door and ended up turning right in front of the whole field. And I think guys that were like 2 seconds, 3 seconds off the pace ended up coming back and finishing in the top five. So wild finish. Mark picked up his first win in the league, and it was a great season opener to the Truck Series on Thursday night.
And that battle for second and third was huge. I put a picture up on Facebook of that. It showed as a tie actually in the scoring.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that actually. I mean, there was a couple people that yelled out that they thought they had the win, but when I looked at that finishing result, it showed Mark Jackson up there, and I never went back through and watched that replay or looked at any of the still shots of it.
Yeah, it was David Johnson and Billy Wise, both showing .525 back from Mark Jackson. Uh, that was a wild battle they had right to the stripe.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I think I was spinning through the infield at that point in time. So
And guess I'll have to brag a little bit because I did score the most recent races win at Iowa. Um, you and I battled for a good deal of that race.
yeah, man, that was another fun one, and it just I guess I just put myself in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Late in the race, guys are trying to fight for a win, and I was just wrong place, wrong time. I mean, it was a racing deal, and uh, I think I ended up finishing sixth out of that or something like that, right around there. But it was still a good race, and congrats to you on that win. I mean, you fought for it all day long and definitely pulled it out.
Yeah, a lot of good racing. Had some battles in the early stages with Dustin Covington. And in the closing stages there, it was Wayne Galloway who was just, really, really trying to get by me. A lot of attempts on that bottom side. In Iowa, if you were on the bottom, it was real hard to really do much. Couldn't get the run out of the corners, and the truck would get freed when you're right side by side with somebody. David Johnson leads the points in our truck series. Um, I'm second, and you're currently third. Not too bad.
Yeah, I think it's Dustin Covington fourth and Tim Campbell running out the top fifth. It look like the Tim and Ted are both tied. Well, actually, there's a three-way tie. Sorry, Tim, Ted, and Billy Wise are all tied for fifth in that Thursday night deal. So
Yes, a lot of good times. The truck is probably my favorite thing to race on the ovals. I think it's one of your favorites as well, Wes.
Oh yeah, I love those things, man. It's just it's nice and tight competition throughout the field. Guys aren't too far off from other people, and it just makes for real good racing that series. So I definitely had to make time in the schedule during the week with all the new changes I got going on. But yeah, I still, I still choose to run that series if anything.
And that series heads to Atlanta this week for a 100 lap event. Any thoughts about Atlanta? It's fast. That's
That's
all I
gonna
know.
be another fast, slick one, man. I mean, if you take a restrictor plate and you put it on a mile and a half, that's what you're gonna get there. So guys are going to use the draft there, and it's just going to be a super fast, hopefully a two-lane track. I mean, we've run there before, and you can really utilize that outside line there and still be competitive off the corner. So it should be a good race. Can't wait for Thursday.
Yeah, me neither. Thursdays are a lot of fun. Bump and Run series is going to be off this week. They pick up action on March 3rd at South Boston. This week, Wes, we have speaking of trucks, we have a special event. It's a cancer awareness race. That's going to be broadcasted through GRE, and that's going to be at Chicagoland. Um, hopefully we can get you in there for that one, Wes, because that's going to be a lot of fun.
10-4 sounds like a good deal. I mean, it's up for a good cause, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to try to make plans to make that, especially if it's the trucks at Chicagoland. I mean, that's another fun track. So
Yeah, we had a practice race last Saturday night for it, and the action on track was pretty good. We have a custom fix setup for it, and we worked a little bit with the weather package to try to make the racing very competitive. And looking at last Saturday night's race, it looks like that's going to be the case. Want to pull up the guy that we haven't seen in a while. Um, he's another one of the Colorado boys, and back into action finally. Robert Manis. We all call him Panic. He's behind the number 14. How you doing, Panic?
Good, Bob. How are you? What's up, Wes?
how's it going, Bobby?
Good. Really good to be back. Excited.
Yeah, so Bobby has been with us for I can't even count the years. He was back in the console days before he came to PC, and I met him on the console, and he used to run in some leagues with John, our league owner now, and he jumped on the wagon just like I did and grabbed the iRacing deal, and he took a couple months off there and saved up some money and got a brand new PC. So we're hoping to see him back here soon. Let's hear what your thoughts are, Bobby, on what you want to do with the league or what you're gonna be doing in the sim racing world. Period with your new PC now.
Well, with the sim racing world, I'm definitely going to try to run the NASCAR iRacing career or the season, all 36 races, starting this Saturday with the 500. I plan on running all them. Right now, the schedule is just Saturday, so that kind of sucks a little bit because I'd rather run the truck for you guys. That series looks really, really fun.
Yeah, we're hoping to get you over here for some league racing. I don't know what we got going on Saturdays right now, but I'm pretty sure here in a few weeks we'll determine what we're going to be doing with Saturdays. But yeah, we'd like to see you over here, either that or get up in the booth every once in a while. Maybe call a race if you get some time. We've been doing some one-off events on Saturdays, so maybe you'll be able to jump up there and call some races or something on Saturday nights for us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love racing it, watching it, spotting it, no matter what it is. This thing's a drug for me, and I just love it.
Yeah, man, that feat for the you said you're going for that 36 race, NASCAR iRacing series, and that's, man, those are those races are a struggle. I know you've spotted for me and crew chief for me in a couple of the 500s and I think the 600 at Charlotte. So yeah, to switch over and be the driver now and take on those long races, that's gonna be a hard one. But sounds like you're set up for it and you're ready to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take a lot of testing. The cup car, the rear end is just loose everywhere besides the restrictor plates. So we'll get after it, do a little testing here and there, and should be a good season.
And are you going to be running in the fixed or the open setup series, Bob?
I'll definitely fix. I know nothing. This is like opening a computer for me. Like I know nothing about these setups at all. It's like a bunch of crayons put together, and I don't know what to do with them.
I found myself looking at that setup page, especially on the Cup Series level. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and I just look at it like a deer in the headlights. I have no idea what to do either. But I've run that series before. For the folks listening, the NASCAR iRacing series is a official series on the through the iRacing hosted thing. So Bob Panic will be racing with guys that he doesn't race with all the time. But I think you'll find once you go through a few races, you'll end up in the same split with some guys. So every week there'll be a few names that are familiar, and that could be a good thing, unless you piss one of them off. When I ran at Hampshire and got into, on the restarts, a lot of tracks like that where you have to brake a lot and slow down for the corners, it's harder to judge, where the speed going into the first corner. And I got in there way too heavy and run him up into the wall. And it was just every single week we were in the same split, and he was not happy with me for quite a ways. But then we ended up the following season in the same split at Daytona, and believe it or not, we went from rivals to best friends and ended up running uh, the most of that race together in the draft. And we were poised to actually get a really good finish. And then with about 50 miles to go in the race, a guy stuffed me up in the wall trying to get back in the draft. So that was a disappointment. It's a real neat thing to be a part of. It's a challenge to go through that whole schedule.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you talk about that. It's kind of like the same thing we seen in the Clash this morning. We all know Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick have never been, real fond of each other, but that's who we seen hooked up today, trying to make it to the fronts.
Yeah, that's restrictor plate racing right there.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Everybody's your friend until the last lap.
I mean, you go into, at least I go into a restrictor plate race with like an idea in my head who I want to work with and kind of an idea of a strategy, but
It never
it's
works out.
it's a rolling strategy. I mean, you could be on the back stretch with one plan, you go to a trial, and you're on a whole different plan all of a sudden, just because of the way that the circumstances around you change with every moment out there.
Yeah, and Daytona's such a throwing a dart in the dark race. I'm actually just looking forward to Atlanta most of all. I love that place. The hot, slick, just hanging the thing sideways there. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Is the second week of the season.
Yeah, that ought to be a good. That's a good. I mean, like I talked about before we pulled Bobby up in here. It's that track does produce some pretty good side by side racing, and yeah, I mean it's always produced good finishes in the real Cup world. So.
And spent a lot of time at Daytona recently. For those that don't know, Lugnuts has a team for endurance races now on the roadside, and you guys were a part of it with the 24 hours of Daytona. Wes, you were behind the wheel some, and Panic spotted for you. That was a hell of an experience, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I had a 2 hour stint, and then I took over for another hour. Within that 24, and Bobby wanted to be a part of it, and didn't have the computer to run it, so he decided to get up in there and spot for me and make sure I wasn't, going to blow all the fenders off of it. But turned out pretty decent, and it was a fun experience to have a live spotter in there for me, and to be able to compete in that race.
That's what's such a cool. That's what's such a cool deal is, with iRacing that you can run the whole speed weeks. Like we did the Clash for Loose Lugnuts last night, the Daytona 500s next weekend, and we just got done doing the 24. I mean, that's all speed weeks. That's just awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. And for us, the whole goal going into it was to finish, and we did. There was a lot of guys though that were part of that, in addition to the four of us: Nels Clyde, who's joined us, and Ted Chief Quinzel. Jamie Vendel was a big part of that, and even though he actually didn't spend any time behind the wheel, Jake Anderson was a huge part of this as well. It was actually the setup that he did the work on that we ran in that race. So, but Jake and Wes, you guys had some challenges just to even get into the race.
Oh man, I think it was a night, but I think it was the night before the race, and I had just figured out that you had to be, I think it was like a D 4.0 road license, and I was at like a 224 or something like that starting that night. So, yeah, pretty much, committed to it and stayed up for like 9 hours straight and ran a bunch of official races and had to boost that safety rating up to over a 4.0D. So I mean, and me and Jake were in the same TeamSpeak lobby together, and we were checking on each other back and forth to see where we were at, and we both raced our hearts out that night just to try to compete in it. I think Jake came up a little short there at the end and got it a little late, and we already had some fill-in drivers for him, but he definitely worked on that setup. It was definitely a good handling car, and he was a big part of it. So
Yes, and the other guy that was a part of it was Brian Tribble. He was the guy that came in there in the last moments to make sure we had enough guys for the team. Brian, of course, broadcast the Friday nights with me. Nels, we got you up here, and we're talking about the 24 hours of Daytona. Pretty awesome time, huh?
That was wonderful. I see that you're showing that clip of when I was at the wheel and got run over by a BMW. So
Yeah.
very,
Up until
very
that
evident.
point, our race was really going well. We elected to not post a qualifying time, and we gridded. I think it was like 51st, and we were in the back half as a top 20 there for many hours up until that incident at just about the 12-hour mark. That was gut wrenching to see.
We were even close to the top 10 at one point. I think we were in 12th place. So.
yeah, I think Nels had the second stint after Jamie started the race, and I took over after he finished his stint. I took over, I think, 15th, and that's when the whole I took off out of pit road with the pit limiter on and didn't have a button for the pit limiter, so I had to do whatever it is, 2.7 something miles with the pit limiter on. So that didn't help us out any, but I think we fought back to like the top 18 within my stint, and then I don't know. I went to sleep after that, so I don't know where people were at after that.
I was trying to forget about that lap.
That was a
It's
classic
branded in
moment.
my mind forever now.
And
Yeah.
what was funny about that too, John Hastings, he was in there and he gave a lot of good advice for the team and everything. It really helped us out a bunch. But he told us that happened to them too. One guy didn't have a button. What we're talking about is a lot of the road race cars. You can actually hit a button for the pit road speed limits. You don't speed on pit road, unlike NASCAR, where you have to pay attention to your attack and your speed and not the speed. But Wes didn't have a button and had to do a whole lap around the track. I think it was at 55 miles an hour or something like
55.
that.
I did some looking back on that race and everything, guys, and one of the things that I saw was the exception of getting caught up in that wreck and then that one thing with the speed limiter. In all reality, guys, speed-wise in racing, we only lost a couple positions. We went up to 15th when we had the limiting speed limiter, and that dropped us back into 30th. Then we worked our way back up into the 20s, early 20s, I think. And then after that wreck, we dropped down to 36, 37. We ended up, I think, 32nd.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal at all. I mean, I made my fair share of mistakes. There was a lot of other drivers that were a lot cleaner than I were, but it was definitely fun to be out there, and it's definitely a completely different monster than being on oval tracks all the time.
And what people don't realize is you'll see coming from the infield to the NASCAR course, they don't look that hard to make that left-hander, but man, that is something else coming out of there. Like the car just loses so much weight.
Yeah, it gets real unsettled in that last turn before you hop back up out of turn 2 onto the backstretch.
Yeah, there was a lot of action getting back onto the oval and coming off the oval. So much speed that you got to slow down and make that corner. And the car just wants to get so loose getting back onto the oval.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
I believe that corner is off camber too, so that adds to the dilemma when you're trying to get around there fast.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed too is that I wasn't used to is having a live spotter with me. You know, I'm used to the can spotter when they're alongside of you. The can guy says, "Hey, inside, outside." And when I was driving, I had Bob spotting for me, which really kind of helped. And it actually prevented a couple of me prevented from getting into wrecks because guys were coming up behind me way too fast, and so I backed off and went to the outside and let them go sliding out through and out through the grass. But having a live spotter was pretty cool. And then also quickly add spotting for someone else. It's to keep up with them and to get some accurate spotting is not an easy task.
Not at all. I've hardly ever done it. I mean, I've tried to jump into races with a couple of my other buddies, and try to tell them if they got somebody there outside or something. But yeah, with that Daytona race, that's a whole different monster. You got cars that are faster than you all the time, and you don't know what they're gonna do when they go down in the corner. So it's hard to predict. And hats off to Bob and Bobby, both of them that did a lot of good spotting in that race for fellow drivers.
Yeah, that spotting it definitely looks a lot easier than it really is. I think you're just watching and telling what's going on, but it's very busy and not an easy thing to do. Definitely got better throughout the night, and that was a thing with the whole team thing. Most of the guys actually had a live spotter, and the guys outside of driving put in a lot of time. Um, not only preparing for the event with all the practice we did, and we only had about 2 weeks to really prepare. We threw this really threw this team together in the last minutes as far as a preparation standpoint, and we're already working. Luckily, we've done some work already at Sebring. We've been in some practices with the old bastards, and done a few of our own, and we got a couple of setups already in the works. So Sebring's only 12 hours, but that track is much harder than Daytona, at least for me. I'm struggling with it.
Is
Don't
it
they
all
do
the
this at Watkins Glen also?
Yes, there is an endurance race at the Glen. That is much later in the season. June is when that is. That's a short one. It's only 6 hours.
this Sebring? That's going to be 12 hours, correct?
Yes, at 12 hours. That's going to be on March 11th.
Much more crowded and narrower track per se, and just as many cars. So I'm expecting good finish, guys. If we can keep people from taking us out.
So what's the lineup looking up for that race, driver wise? Who's taking stints in that one this time around?
I think most of the team's coming back. Jamie Vendel, Jake Anderson, myself, Chief, um, and we have a new sign up. Michael Jeans is actually going to be joining the team from Southeast Motorsport as well. And I think Nels, you're going to be joining us as well.
That's 10-4. I
Nice.
see
So
Mr. Tribble is out there on the fan side. He's watching
Yes,
us now.
I believe Brian might join us as well. We'll probably have to take a good look at it. We may field two cars instead of one with the amount of drivers we have this time. I know there
Yeah,
was a
'cause
few other guys that showed interest. James
yeah, that's
Lehman,
on a
Zudemeyer, and a bunch of other guys showed interest when we were doing the 24 hours. So we're probably going to have enough to do two teams or two
Yeah,
cars.
yeah. I'd definitely be in for that. It's on a Saturday.
and I believe Jake will join us this time too.
Oh yeah, he's been hard at work. I got a set up from him and one from Jamie, so we got some stuff to work with. And big thing for me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just still trying to find my way around that place. So it's really flat, and a lot of the spots where you corners are, you don't have the most visual markers for the corners. It's of course, I think it's out of an old airport, I believe.
Yeah, that would be correct.
That's what's hard for us, these guys that run the 80% ovals. You go to these tracks that NASCAR don't run, and it takes you a while to decide and figure out where you're going.
Yeah, that's how I felt with Daytona. I mean, we've ran Daytona for years, and you don't understand when you have to go down into that infield and turn right and left and right and do all that stuff down there, and then come back out on the track. It's just a whole different monster.
It's just like Watkins Glen. We've done that in Infineon for years, and they added the boot to Watkins Glen, and that takes a minute. And Infineon's its own monster.
Yeah, it's a whole other racetrack when they add another portion of the track to you.
Yeah, Sebring's a home track for me. It's about an hour and a half from my house.
And
That's not a bad deal at all.
this all started up a ways back. For the longest time, the Lugnuts hadn't really done a whole lot of road racing. Didn't really have a series in it. And we started running with the Cadillac on the road course on Tuesday nights. Jamie Vindel has been dominating that series. He has 5 wins. He took a week off, which huge thank you to him because I was able to win that week at the Pocono Road Course. I wrote a real tough schedule for these guys. I've been beating up on them. Places even Jamie was struggling with at first, like the Rockingham Road Course and the Road Course at Pocono and the one at Las Vegas. Places the guys look at the schedule and they're like, I didn't even know the place had a road course, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's definitely the Ron Fellows of the Loose Lugnuts. He is flat out great on road courses.
Yeah, that guy's ridiculous, man. He's really good. Along with these other guys we got in here too. Niles put me to work in that Cadillac at Watkins Glen and made me make way too many mistakes and ended up wrecking myself. So, I mean, these guys are great road course racers, and hats off to them because I can't ever seem to figure it out in any other car but a NASCAR sanctioned car. So.
My racing career is largely years of mediocrity punctuated by moments of brilliance.
Hey, but it works out for you, though.
I might have to steal that for mine.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, if you can't baffle them with BS, you dazzle them with brilliance.
So that road series is off to Mid-Ohio this Tuesday. Just a quick peek at the standings on our Tuesday night series. Jamie, even though he missed a race, is in the points lead. I haven't had a whole lot of wins or anything over there, but each week I seem to find my way into a decent spot and sitting in second in points. I got Dode the Hornet Hoskins in third, and of course Snells and Chief fourth and fifth.
Speaking of Mid-Ohio, I've done that in the Xfinity Camaro. That is a tight track.
Yeah, that's another rough one to run right there. I mean, even though we primarily see it on TV with the Xfinity guys, but that's still it's a rough track to get used to.
Yeah, it has a lot of tough corners. That one at the end of the long straightaway, and then the right, and then that left over that hill. That's a tough one.
That's the most insane S I've done on iRacing so far, is coming down that long straightaway. You carry so much momentum, and then all of a sudden you got to stop.
Well, the cake was you putting in all these out of character road courses in, but the icing on the cake, Bob, was going with dynamic weather.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio is an old home track for me. That's where I lived when I was 16 years old, and that was the first time I ever saw the Chaparrals run there in 1963 in Mid-Ohio. Awesome racetrack.
Yeah, that dynamic weather is something else. Me and Wes and maybe a couple others ran the Daytona 500 last year, and it was just like real life. I mean, the first 5 laps, you're like, man, this thing can't get any better, and then lap 15, you're up next to the wall, hoping you don't wreck it.
Tires are going away. You're slipping and sliding. That draft's, I mean, it's pretty realistic. I've never been in a real car in real life, but I'm pretty sure it's close as it gets to what these Cup guys are going to deal with at Daytona.
And speaking of Daytona, what are you guys thinking as far as who's going to bring it home this year?
I think Ford's going to do pretty well because you've got Stuart Haas and Penske now, and I really don't think that Roush is going to be a factor. They haven't been in the last few years. I think Ford's going to have a good showing this year.
Honestly, based on the practice and the class this morning, I think Toyota is the hardest one to beat. because they basically got 6 cars that are no matter what they're going to tag team.
Yeah, them Toyotas are hard to beat, but we watched Keselowski break up that 4-car pack of Toyotas pretty quick and made it a race there at the end. So we'll have to see what the new pack of Fords do this year.
Yeah, and the new shocker was the real shocker was to see. I'm brain farting here. The 22 and the 4-car work
Harvick
together.
and Logano.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're best friends now, I guess. Bob placed a good point. It's Daytona. I mean, them guys were gonna work with each other to get to the front, and I'm sure it was game on after that. But yeah, it's different to see those two to work together, and they're in the same manufacturer now, so maybe we'll see some more working together throughout the season.
Just put a period on that dynamic weather thing. What Jimmy Johnson did today in the Clash is so easy to do at Daytona. You wouldn't think it isn't because it's such a big track, but the cars are so ridiculously loose at lap 15, and all the dirty air that surrounds you, it's just insane.
I think we've all had that happen to us once or twice at them restrictor plate tracks.
But back to the 500, Las Vegas Sportsbook have Junior as the favorite.
I don't know how you can't ever put that guy as the favorite. I mean, that whole family is just ridiculous at that track in Talladega. So,
Bob, I know you're a Junior fan, and he said that he's going to wait the next 2 months to decide if he extends his contract. Do you think he will?
I think they're probably working on the details for his retirement. That's my guess. He's at that age now, and
the concussion didn't help anything either.
Yeah, there's certain additional risks that he has racing after suffering those injuries. Be interesting to see, but it might be it. But he came back strong in qualifying today. He's on the front row with Elliott, and those are two names in racing for at least a lot of my generation. It used to be a different Elliott and a different Earnhardt, but we've seen those two names battle against each other, and I could see the end of this race. We talked about the Fords and Toyotas, but could be a Elliott and Earnhardt battle at the very end, or at least working together.
That's one little nugget about the front row. The pole sitter in the last 15 500s hasn't even finished in the top 10.
Yeah, you can't ever count those Hendrick cars out though. Them things they always show up with something fast.
Well, I noticed that Junior jumped in front of the mic real quick, and he did some interviews in race calling last year. So I kind of tend to believe, like Bob, if he does do a career extension, I think it'll probably be a year-to-year deal.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see him, leave the car, but I mean, when you put racing and then what's going to dictate the rest of your life, injury-wise. I mean, it's
and he's got that wife now, and
yeah, it makes it an easier decision to just walk away.
Yeah, especially when she looks like she does.
Right.
Exactly. We got some guys over in the chat here with some picks. Trimble's going with the number 22. Of course, he's a Connecticut native. No surprise there. Looks like John picked the 88. Got Zudemeyer, 18 all day.
Yeah, me personally, now that Tony Stewart's gone, it's going to be all about Chase Elliott. So I'm going 24.
I got to go.
I'm going with the 88.
I got to go with the 4. I can't ever deny that guy. Even though I wasn't happy about the whole switch to Ford, I mean, what's the difference, right? Just a motor package.
Yeah, I think the rules and the templates and everything that NASCAR does to make it a level playing field, really, it doesn't matter. I don't think a ton. I think there's slight differences in what the motor packages from the 3 manufacturers do at the short tracks and in a place like a mile and a half. But especially at Daytona, the rules are just so tight that it really doesn't much matter what you have. But the important thing, I think, is to be with an organization that has got everything together, has the bodies together, the chassis, the engine, the right crew chief, and the right spotter. It takes all of those elements to really be at the top of the sport each and every week. And Daytona, of course, the biggest race of the year. all of those resources work extra hard to get that Daytona 500 trophy.
Yeah, it ought to be an exciting one. The only thing I'm kind of disappointed about still is that it's pretty much the leader and that's it. I mean, we didn't see very much of any kind of battles for the lead. You get to a guy's quarter panel and it just sucks that in car or that inside car backwards. So I mean, if they were to work some kinks out with the whole drafting deal, maybe put a wicker back on him or something. We might have some more exciting Daytona and Talladega races.
Them wickers are something else. They do that in the K&N cars and the iRacing. Those things are insane with the wicker belt on them.
Yeah, it's
And
just gone away to like one car leading the race, and he can pretty much control both lines by just breaking the draft in front of those two cars.
Yeah, we saw that with the number 2 car today. He's he's very, very good at that. Brad can just go right and left, and the number 11 car is pretty good at it too.
Yeah, between Brad and Dale Jr., man, that's the most phenomenal lead cars I've ever seen with the new package at Daytona and Talladega. It's crazy to see those two guys up there just control the whole field.
Who definitely isn't a lead car, but tries his behind off is Jamie.
Jamie McMurray.
He's good on plate tracks.
And he's also a decent road racer. Clinton Boyer is now at Stewart-Haas. Finally, after that contract was signed a wicked long time ago, he's now a teammate with Harvick.
Yeah, those guys have been teammates before, and I watched the interview when they were talking to those two guys about racing with each other again, and it sounds like they're pretty stoked to be back together. They know each other, and they've raced around each other, and they know how each other race. So,
Speaking of contract extensions in Stewart-Haas, do you guys see Danica coming back next year?
Danica will always be around as long as someone will sponsor her, man. That brings so much more money to the sport and to that team, and it widens the fan range too. It gets a lot of women involved in it. So
Yeah, if you've ever been to a race before she went NASCAR, if you went to her trailer when she was running the Indy cars, they were like 6, 7 deep, and most of them were women. And I'm here to tell you, any sponsor that picks her up, like General Mills or anything along that line, would be lucky to have her. And she's a big winner when it comes to the dollar signs for advertising.
Yeah, it's the same way on the NASCAR side. When they used to do the trucks, I went to Phoenix International last year in March with my family, and her line was just as bad as Junior's and Chase Elliott's.
I'm actually going to side with Ricky Craven. He actually kind of bashed on her a little bit recently on ESPN, saying that she needs to win. The novelty of her, being in the sport and news is worn off, and I think this year it's almost a must-win year. You may not see her back if she doesn't make it to victory lane, in my opinion.
I honestly don't think she needs a win to stick around. It's not why they have her over there. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that when Tony Stewart picked her up and gave her a ride, that he wasn't thinking she was gonna come out and be a 2 to 3 win a year, or at least a win a year.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with Wes 100% on that. She's there for the money.
Yeah, it was a big name to bring over, and everybody liked her over there in the Izod series, and she's not a terrible driver. It's just
No, not at all.
the competition levels that are NASCAR right now. It's just I mean, you've seen look at Jimmy Johnson last year. I mean, he really didn't even kick it on until the end of the year, so he was getting schooled by guys that have only been there for a year or a few years. So it's just the competition level, and it's hard to be competitive.
Listen, Bob, if you think about it, Bob, look at all the guys that are running NASCAR, have been for 8 to 10 years now, that haven't won.
Oh, there's a few out there. That shows how hard it is to win at that level.
Not to switch gears here, but what do you guys think William Byron's going to do in the Xfinity? I mean, he flat out dominated the truck and didn't walk away with a championship. You think he's going to be that good in the Xfinity? Not dominated, of course, but
The kid's fast, man. I mean, and it came down to the whole, championship format that NASCAR had out. The reason why, he didn't walk away with the championship because he easily would have, walked himself right into a trophy. But I see him being just as competitive as he was in the Truck Series and the Xfinity, and soon to be a Cup driver. I'm sure. Sure, he's already on some people's lists.
Yeah, I saw an article about him. He actually started racing through iRacing, and then went off to Legends cars because he was so good at the iRacing.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that started out in the iRacing world that are, NASCAR racers now. I think what is it, Garrett Smithley? He drives the Zero in the Xfinity Series, the Red Zero. He started out in iRacing, so it's cool to see these guys start out on the sim and be able to transfer over to a series that you it's not easy to get into NASCAR. I mean, you got to have a lot of money, and there's a lot of other stuff involved to be able to race in the NASCAR series.
What
And
about
we have a few rookies actually in the Cup Series. Daniel Suarez, and who was that other guy that dominated in Xfinity last year?
Eric Jones?
Eric Jones. So that rookie battle, I think, is going to be a good one all season.
Ty Dillon's involved in that also. I think
Oh
I
yeah,
see
right.
Suarez coming away with that actually.
It should be a pretty good rookie battle. I mean, we look back at last year's rookie battle, and that was a pretty good showing between who was it, Ryan Blaney and
Chase Elliott.
Chase Elliott. Yeah.
There's a name that's been in the back row for many years, Blaney.
Yeah, Blaney. I think that team's running full time this year. They're a satellite team, I think, for Penske. It should put a lot of power with the Wood Brothers car.
Yeah,
I was
easy.
like, we were talking. You kind of mentioned guys that made a career out of not winning, and he's one of them.
Yeah, Ryan's a good kid though. He's a fast driver, and
Yeah,
I see him have a breakout year coming up.
I'm talking about Dave.
Oh yeah, Dave Blaney. Yep, I watched that
And-
guy wreck a lot.
And J.J. Yaley has made a career out of driving somebody else's car in the back of the pack.
Yeah, JJ Yaley's an awesome dirt racer. I've gotten to meet that guy a couple times out at my local dirt track when I used to live in California, and that guy is something to see on dirt, man.
Yeah, so was
Nate-
Dave Blaney and Kenny Wallace. That's what makes
Yeah.
NASCAR so different. Is these guys are so great on dirt, and then they get on the asphalt, and it's 20th on back.
Yeah, it's a different monster. And you come over to the Cup Series, these guys on asphalt are crazy.
Him and Tony Stewart were the only people ever to win the USAC Triple Crown, all three series, in 1 year. And Stewart, brought him onto the Gibbs team thinking that he was going to be the next superstar, and he fell flat on his face.
I
Yeah,
know. I know Tony didn't run the 500 last year, but anybody feel a little weird not seeing that name on for the 500 this year?
it's still gonna be weird, man. It's just like when we said goodbye to Jeff Gordon, and then you're listening to him in the booth. It's like we're not used to seeing guys like that we've watched for the last 15 years out on the track just not be there all of a sudden. So it's definitely gonna be different to see Clint Boyer in the 14 and not see Tony Stewart, making some ridiculous interview out there. But I mean, good luck to him on his dirt career, and that's what he likes to do, and he's gonna have fun doing what he's doing now.
Yeah, I thought it's strange to see him qualify today because a lot of them names are new to me.
Yeah, new names, different numbers. The beginning of the NASCAR season's always a shake-up when you see drivers not there like Carl Edwards, and now the rookie Suarez is in his car, and it's something to, yeah, it's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, I
the
just
biggest thing?
started getting used to that number with Edwards in it. So he was the 99 for so long, and now somebody else is in that. And it's going to be hard to look at the 14 with the Mobile 1 on it and not think of Tony Stewart, and when it's actually Clint Boyer now.
I'm sure I'm going to yell it out at the TV once or twice this season.
How you guys feel about the biggest elephant in the room, the new Monster Energy Cup Series?
Well, actually, I'm a big fan of it after seeing the Monster Energy girls at the track.
Yeah, that was nice.
I saw a lot of guys commenting on that. It's definitely a welcome sight at the Speedway.
Yeah, and they brought along a nice rules package and some crazy formats to go by now. So it ought to be crazy to watch this year and see how this whole system's gonna prevail throughout 36 races.
Yeah, segment race is going to be crazy. I mean, in all reality, it's just going to be yellow, but the whole points behind it's just different. And giving points for the Can-Am Duel on Thursday.
Hey, real quick, guys, off the top of your head, what's the number you think of cars finishing in next Sunday? I'd say a dozen or less.
Man, with this new rules package, I mean, I don't know. These guys are gonna be scared for their lives not being able to bring their cars back out on the track and run for points. That'll be interesting to see. Maybe mid 25 to 30 on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's the number I had in my head. 24, 26 or something left on track. A lot of people that new rule there with not being able to come out there with a piece of junk, I think is a good thing. I mean, previous to this, we always had that minimum speed rule, so that would keep real slow, half beat up race cars off the track. But a lot of things hadn't been talked about as far as safety. Once these cars get all mangled up and take one hit into the wall, and they're going out there with half a race car, that decreases the safety aspect of the car too. And I think from a standpoint on safety, it's a good rule to have.
The deal, yeah, the deal that if they go behind the pit wall, that they got to stay. That's where I think we're going to lose a lot in the numbers game.
What's also going to be crazy is over on the Xfinity side, if you're a lap down when that final segment starts, you're parked.
Yeah, that's another thing. We're just gonna have to see how it works out. This is, when the season actually starts, it's gonna be interesting to watch because, you're gonna have these championship battles, and one little slip up is gonna, ruin a guy's race, and he's not gonna be able to come back on track, and it's gonna be crazy to keep up with for the first year.
It's definitely some new aspects. But I think it'll all work out, and definitely add some interest, especially because they run such a long race. Should add some interest in that.
Yeah, I didn't think the tournament thing would have worked out either in the beginning, but as we all see, it did.
Well, Monster Energy's here to bring more excitement. They're action sport sponsor, and we shall see if they live up to what they've started with the Cup Series.
Yeah, they have a long history in motorsports. If you watch any of the other series, I watch a lot of FIA Rallycross, and they're all over the place with the cars and the Monster Girls.
Oh yeah, they're
always
huge in
good, and
Rallycross, Supercross also.
X Games.
speaking
Yep.
of Rallycross and rally and dirt rallies, still going. We have a session up there for the folks that are in that dirt rally action. Mel's, have you been on there to post the time yet?
Yeah, I think is the new leg up and running?
No, we're still in our current rally session.
Yeah, at Greece. Yeah, I finished that one.
Have you
Still
guys
got
looked
some
into
work to
Dirt
do.
4?
I haven't even looked at it yet, but it's a lot of fun. It's definitely different driving those things. Hoping someday that we can do rallycross on iRacing. That would be a blast to do multiplayer.
What are you guys looking forward to most when Dirt releases, besides Dirt itself?
Hopefully, being able to control the car.
Yeah,
Right, keep it straight, make some laps.
I'm looking forward to something they're probably not even thinking about: non-wing sprint cars.
Oh, I already heard it's in the making. They can't make dirt without putting a non-wing 410 out there.
Yeah, those are awesome.
That's what
It's
I
gonna
grew up
be-
watching, and there's those guys right there. They got some massive ones between their legs to run those things with no wings and pitch them down in the corner and lean on that right rear. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I used to go Ohio for the Buckeye Nationals when they ran that out there, and then I ran to the Oval Nationals in Lake Paris, California, a couple of years, and that's some of the best racing you will ever see anywhere.
Yep, Paris Auto Speedway. That's my hometown track. That's what I hope they bring to iRacing in the future once they release dirt, because that Oval Nationals brings a lot of guys from across the country, and they put on a good show with those non-wings.
Yeah.
Wes brought
Yeah.
up a good point earlier. Also, the X system. I wonder how the X system is going to work, because we all know, watching dirt and have done it here and there back in the old computer days, that's a sling and bang system.
Yeah, you're hitting the wall to go straight. So it ought to be crazy to see how they come up with the X penalties during the race. Everybody's going to be leaning on each other if it's as realistic as it is in real life.
Hell, I can't keep the pave sprinter on the road on iRacing, let alone dirt.
That's why I put a little comment on that video you posted on Facebook. I said 2X with a question mark.
Yeah, that was more about 8 and just in that video.
Yeah, I heard that it's going to be its own license system, dirt. So everybody, when this does get released, will be a rookie in dirt. Most of us will be rookies in dirts anyway, but
Yeah, this Saturday night, fellas, East Bay Raceway, we should have about 50 sprinters for the Winter Nationals down here in Florida.
Yeah, I've seen who is that? Brian, I don't know how to say his last name. It's one of Billy Wise's buddies. Brian Long something.
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's down
Yeah,
there.
he's
Volusia
been
this weekend.
he's been posting a lot of videos at Volusia. So they've already started some dirt stuff up out there.
Yeah, they've been running all week there, Evolution.
Yeah, I can't wait to run that big boat style late model on dirt. That's going to be a blast for me. And the truck at Eldora. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a crazy one. Putting them trucks on dirt.
That's gonna be fun.
Jeez.
You were talking about tight, Wesley? I don't think so on dirt.
No, there's plenty of loose there. The throttle pedal is how you loosen up around dirt.
Also, be anxious to see how dry it gets.
Yeah, hopefully they do like a dynamic deal with the dirt. These guys got their hands full in iRacing with what they're starting up with dirt, because we know asphalt changes, and we see the different racing lines throughout a 500-mile race, but dirt's just completely different when it comes to track drying out. One line's good, one line's slick. We should see some crazy stuff if they get it right.
From what I've read, that's been their focus, is to get that right. Watching the moisture go away in one line, finding the moisture someplace else. So.
I don't care if we're running 2D cars as long as they get the track right, because that's where it's at. I don't care what the car looks like.
As long as you don't run a Kyle Larson lap, because then you'll end up getting like a 30X and disqualified.
Oh yeah, that guy loves riding the wall.
Well, guys, been an awesome time tonight. I want to thank our special guests, Nels, Clyde, Panic, Fed Chief, for joining us. Wes, another show in the books. We actually have a name, 2 to go with Reckham and Bad Bob. Looking forward to the next one already.
Yeah, this has been a great deal, man. I really like coming on here and just talking over what we do in the league, and then maybe throwing some real life racing stuff in here, and having these awesome guests like these guys that showed up tonight. So looking forward to another show, and looking forward to bringing maybe some of these guys back, or some new guys in here every once in a while.
Hey, thanks for having us. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for welcoming me back with open arms. Thank you.
Yeah, we hope to
Yes.
see you back, Bobby.
Yes, open arms, and you get in my way a bumper, of course.
Yeah, and
Oh, wouldn't have it any other way.
Brian and Travis, you guys have a good night too.
What's that? Anyway, just in closing, I want to thank our sponsors, racegear.com, over the top paints and designs. Look your best on the track. Look over the top. Billy Wise and the Wise Guys. Don't listen to dumb music. Listen to the Wise Guys. And on behalf of Wes, and a huge thank you to Tim for producing tonight. 2 to go with Reckham and Bob. We'll be back next time.